What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS 3 Raw TV. Jason Gaddy, this one is for you, man. Shout out to you. So if you guys don't know who Jason Gaddy is, I became aware of him when I was with Primeval. Just through social media and stuff, he was very weary of me, of, Primeval Labs, etc. Rightfully so. There's a lot of companies out there that do shitty things. And basically, he was very vocal about that until he tried the products. The products worked. Until he actually met me. We met before, and we've gone back and forth throughout the last couple of years. He's a great guy, and I can't thank him enough for the support, but he gets information to me that he feels is very important to get out to people because people don't listen to him. He feels like when he says stuff, people just kind of, you're not really big in the fitness industry, you're not really big into health. They don't believe him for whatever reason. I don't know why, because, when I listen to him talk, I believe him, so I don't know. But bottom line is he has been very big on high fructose corn syrup and how deadly it is, to be honest with you, how poisonous it is. And today I got a couple days ago, some of the stuff, but I started delving into it today. And this one is exactly what I've talked about. And again, with MB, with Jason, what they do is they're finding stuff that I've already talked about, and they're digging deeper. And when they dig deeper, they're finding the proof that people can't refute. They can't say shit about it because there are facts that are coming out. Or they're out there. That's the fucked up part. They're out there, and they could have been 20 years old, these facts, but nobody knows it because 20 years ago, the internet wasn't a big thing yet. So they couldn't get their hands on this shit. And now what they do is they look for the latest studies on stuff. They don't care about what happened in the past. Well, sometimes when something comes out in the past, they don't really need to do anything different to get that to change the shape of what's going on. Because if things are going the way that these companies want things to go study-wise, like they put out a study, everything goes their way and it's not changing, it's continuing to go their way, why would there be another fucking study to refute it? So therefore, it just kind of stays in the background, but that information that was brought up becomes fact, or like folklore, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. So we're talking about sugar today, and I've said before that sugar cannot just be addictive. It is a big cause of things like type 2 diabetes. It is a big cause of obesity. It is a big cause of people not being able to control, I'm not saying the only one, but a big cause of people not able to control what they eat, which in turn leaves them overweight, obese, and unhealthy, period. If we cut out a lot of the sugar-containing things in this country, and I mean not fucking added sweeteners, and just ate more actual natural foods, because the way that it's hard to explain, but there's bound sugar and unbound sugar, and there's different types of fructose. There's different types of sugar and how they affect your body, as well as how they affect your brain. There are certain types of sugar, like table sugar, that can actually light your fucking brain up. And people, if your brains are wired towards that, they can be very addictive. Some people say, well, there is no way to shut the fuck up, okay? Because anybody who says that is fucking lying through their fucking teeth because they read a study. One of you motherfuckers out there have seen someone have such an addiction to sugar that it's just like a fucking drug. So I don't want to fucking hear it. I don't care anymore. I just don't even listen. But this one is, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a huge anti-fat craze back in, I'd say after like the late 80s, maybe early 90s. Everything was like fat-free. I remember there was an Entenmann's outlet, which makes cakes not far from my house. They made these Entenmann's fat-free cakes, right? Well, you're supposed to have low-fat everything when you're a bodybuilder. So you, maybe my training partner, Donnie, would go buy these cakes and we'd fucking eat them because we'd look at it, it says carbohydrates, protein, and fats. 0 fat, couple grams of protein, 35 grams of carbs. Wow, we'll have a protein shake with this cake, and guess what? We got all our macronutrients. Like, we would do that, and then Al Thurston would tell us, like, that's not the same thing as a fucking regular carbohydrate, you idiot. It's a fucking cake. Like, he would have these arguments, and we would fight with him, and we'd say, no, you're wrong. Well, Al was right. But anyways, so sugar, listen to this, right? In the 60s, 1960s, right? This was actually published in 2016, right? In the 1960s, the sugar industry funded research that downplayed the risks of sugar and highlighted the hazards of fat. According to a new published article in the JMA Internal Medicine, the article draws on the internal documents. Okay? This is not shit that was available to the public. Somebody got their hands on the internal documents, and that's how the information got out there. So it's not about, well, a study. No, this is the fucking shit that was going on with the people that were doing the study and what was going on behind the scenes. They got the fucking documents, and they leaked them. So the documents show that an industry group called the Sugar Research Foundation, who the fuck would have ever thought such a thing exists, wanted to refute concerns about sugar's possible role in heart disease. The SRF, the Sugar Research Foundation, then sponsored research by Harvard scientists that did just that. It said that sugar is good for you. Fat's bad, sugar is good. The result was published in the New England Journal of Medicine in 1967. with no disclosure of the sugar industry funding. The sugar-funded project in question was a literature review, so it wasn't actually study. They reviewed literature, examining a variety of studies and experiments. It suggested there were major problems with all the studies that implicated sugar. Meanwhile, this meta-study is being funded by a sugar research foundation. There's nothing fucking too weird about that, right? There were major problems with all the studies that implicated sugar and concluded that cutting fat out of the American diets was the best way to address coronary heart disease. So what they did was they used scare tactics. If you want to die early, keep eating fat. If you don't want to die, stop eating fat and sugar is fine. Now, we'll get into why sugar over fat in a second, right? The authors of the new article say that for the past 5 decades, the sugar industry has been attempting to influence the scientific debate over the relative risks of sugar and fat. 5 decades they've been trying to do this. This propaganda has been going on, brainwashing, for 5 decades. Okay, that was 2016 when they're talking about it. It was a very smart thing the sugar industry did because review papers, especially if you get them published in a very prominent journal, tend to shape the overall discussion. In the article, published Monday, this is 2016, authors Glantz, Kristen Kearns, and Laura Schmidt aren't trying to make the case for a link between sugar and coronary heart disease. Their interest is in the process. They say the documents reveal the sugar industry attempting to influence the scientific inquiry and debate. So they're like, I don't even know if sugar is bad for you or not. That's not the point. What I want to know is if these people influence these studies to get the results that they want, because that means that they're biased and they fucking should be thrown out. The researchers note that they worked under some limitations. We could not interview the key actors involved in this historical episode because they have died. They're old, right? Other organizations were also advocating concerns about fat. They note there's no evidence that the Sugar Research Foundation directly edited the manuscript published by the Harvard scientists, but there is circumstantial evidence that the interests of the sugar lobby shaped the conclusions of the review in the research. For one thing, there's the motivation and intent. In 1954, researchers note the president of SRF gave a speech describing a great business opportunity. If Americans could be swayed to eat lower fat diet for the sake of their health, they would need to replace the fat with something else. Think about that, sir. That great business opportunity is to all these food companies that could put sugar in their products, larger amounts of sugar in their products. And then those other food companies, not the sugar companies, the food companies that are adding more sugar, that want to push the new no-fat sugar, like sugar products like the Entenmann's cakes, now have the availability to make more money because they're selling the fat-free products, even though they're loaded with sugar. Now, the sugar is more addictive than the fats. So more people would have a hard time getting rid of those out of their diet if they were getting obese than if they were actually eating fat. So basically, let's stack the deck so fat is bad. People have to cut fat out of their diet. They have to make up the difference with sugar. And we know sugar is super addictive. So why don't we sell you guys more sugar to put in your products? Because if you go out there and help us advertise this, that fat's bad, you're going to make millions, we're going to make millions, and the fat industry is going to fucking... I don't know if there's even a fat industry, but there's definitely a sugar industry. So it said America's, they would need to replace that fat with something else. America's per capita sugar consumption could go up by 1/3. In the 60s, the SRF became aware of the flowing reports that sugar is less desirable dietary source of calories than other carbohydrates. Okay, the truth started coming out. SRF Vice President and Director of Research put one in the document. He recommended that the industry fund its own studies, then we publish the data and refute our own detractors. The next year, after several scientific articles were published suggesting a link between sucrose and coronary heart disease, the SRF approved the literature review project. It wound up paying approximately $50,000 for the research. One of the researchers was the published chairman of Harvard's Public Health Nutrition Department and HOC member of SRFF's board. Glant, Kearns, and Schmidt say many of the articles examined in the review were hand-selected by SRF, and it was implied that the sugar industry would expect them to be critiqued. In a letter, SRF's Hickson said the organization's particular interest was in evaluating studies focused on carbohydrates in the form of sucrose. We are all well aware, one of the scientists replied, and we'll cover this as well as we can. The project wound up taking longer than expected because more and more studies were being released that suggested sugar might be linked to coronary heart disease. But it finally was published in 1967. Hickson was certainly happy with the result. Let me assure you that this is quite what we had in mind. We look forward to its appearance in print, he told one of the scientists. The review minimized the significance of research, suggested that sugar could play a role in coronary heart disease. In some cases, the scientists alleged in the investigators' competence or flawed methodology. It's always appropriate to question the validity of individual studies, but she says the author applied different standard to different studies. So it wasn't like they had a strict standard and stayed with that. They go, this study's this. Well, okay, well, let's just throw this in there. Yeah, that goes out because of this. That goes out. They literally were making it up as they were going along, trying to find whatever they could to refute each one of those studies. There was epidemiological studies of sugar consumption, which look at patterns of health and disease in the real world, were dismissed for having too many possible factors getting in the way. Experimental studies were done dismissing for being too dissimilar to real life. One study found that health benefit when people ate less sugar and more vegetables was dismissed, that the dietary change was not feasible. It's not feasible that people eat more vegetables than fucking sugar. What the fuck? Like, matter of fact, I think doctors nowadays go eat more vegetables. Like, they tell everybody that shit, right? Unfucking real, right? Harvard researchers then turned to the studies that examined the risks of fat, which included the same kind of epidemiological studies that had been dismissed when it came to sugar. Citing few study characteristics with no quantitative results, as they concluded that cutting out fat was no doubt the best dietary intervention to prevent coronary heart disease. Now, this thing goes on and on and on, but I'm not going to sit here and fucking read this whole thing because it literally goes fucking on and on and on. It's just, there's a lot of information, but bottom line is, the sugar industry, people who make sugar, Sugar Research Foundation, went and stacked the deck by paying a bunch of people to overlook things and finding a way to twist the words, to bend the narrative, to get what they wanted out of it. And they succeeded. They put all these sugar, these fat-free things on the market that were all full of sugar. And if you go and look at the country's obesity, as well as coronary heart disease in general, guess what? They all go up when the sugar started being placed in and their fats were taken out. Now, I do agree that if fats and sugars combined can be even worse. So cutting out the fat and just having the sugar, I do feel like it's probably a better choice. However, it's 100% bullshit. They got caught. They got called out. The problem is, it's like fucking 50 years later. So therefore, or it's even more than 50 years. But the problem is, people don't give a shit anymore. People have been so bombarded with the fact that it's okay and there's nothing wrong with it, everything's fine and fat's bad, that they don't fucking care. So therefore, they're never going to question that. They're never going to challenge that. They're just going to go with it as fact. But now we have proof where people go on, I guess they would be considered keto diets or high-fat diets, and their triglycerides go down, and their cholesterol goes down, and their arteries actually clear up. They go in there and fucking, next thing you know, their blood work is fucking fantastic, and they're eating a ton of fat. Now, most of the times it's not saturated fat, it's polyunsaturated, but the bottom line is, when they cut the sugar out, they saw a drop in the coronary heart disease. How the fuck is that possible? Because it was bullshit from the beginning. So this is what I'm trying to explain to you guys, that everything that you're hearing and seeing, everything that you think you know, needs to be questioned. Myself included. Don't fucking listen to me. Fuck, man, don't listen to me at all. Go do the research on your own. Because I guarantee you, when you go down this rabbit hole, you start seeing things that are so interesting, you're like, fuck, this has been like this all along? What the fuck? Trust me, guys, if this was a fact that fat-free things were better for your health, everything would still be fat-free. Trust me, we had fat-free fucking salad dressings and shit. I mean, we had all kinds of crazy shit that was fucking going on for like the longest time. And those fat-free fucking salad dressings and shit, I don't even know if you can find a fat-free salad dressing, or there's very few left. You know why? Because that shit didn't fucking pan out. Too many years have gone by to where this shit got fucking proven wrong. And too many doctors, actual doctors that are behavioral fucking specialists, have gone, why the fuck are people behaving weird with sugar but not fucking fats? Okay, sugar does this to the brain. Why are so many people, I've actually read these actual scientific studies about the sugar molecule itself being very coarse. And when it actually goes through the blood, it actually can inflame your veins and arteries as it's going through the blood, being used for energy. And that stuff causes inflammation. That inflammation, guess what? As it starts to inflame the fucking arteries and the veins, starts to close it up a little bit. Now you're looking at, what the fuck? You're looking at effects from sugar that nobody's even paying attention to because they're too busy comparing it to fucking fats. And you're like, but this is what's really happening in some people. And I step back and I go, maybe they don't want the truth. Maybe people don't want the truth. Maybe they don't want the truth for themselves. Maybe they don't want the truth for their businesses. Maybe they don't want the truth to get out there because realistically, the truth is the opposite of what they want. They can't make money with it. But it doesn't stop it from being the truth. The problem is, many of you have been so brainwashed for so long, and it took me a fucking long time to snap out of this because, man, I don't want to give up cakes. I don't want to give up fucking bacon. I don't want to give up any of the fucking shit that they say is bad for you nowadays. Nobody wants to give that up. But I'm also a realist. I'm also very interested in how this shit gets pushed on everybody and how we wind up getting these ideas that things are good, things are bad, and who influences us, right? I mean, we're the type of people, I mean, human beings in general, we don't like to be told what to do, right? We're a free country. I'm fucking, my wife's not gonna tell me what to do, my husband's not gonna tell me what to do, and then fucking the guy on TV tells you to eat fucking sugar and you go eat it. The guy on TV tells you not to eat fat, you stop eating it. The guy on TV tells you to go buy a new fucking car, you go buy it. Motherfucker, you guys are being fucking told what to do every fucking minute of your day. And most of you are out there doing exactly what the fuck you're told. You're like a goddamn robot. You're controlled all the way. But you don't realize that because you're just doing the norm of what you think is right. Well, what if? What if some of those things you're doing are not right? What if some of those things you're doing are taking years off your life? What if they're fucking taking years off your fucking spouse's life? What if they're taking years off your fucking kid's life? What if they're taking, and by years, I don't mean that you're going to necessarily die early, but I mean, my parents are pretty unhealthy. Everywhere they traveled, which they didn't do much traveling, they had to carry all these fucking medications and shit with them and bring them all over the fucking place. And then, the health effects that they had and side effects from the pills, they don't really enjoy themselves that much because they don't feel that good to begin with. Because they're listening to everything they're told by the people that are making them feel like shit. But they don't know any different. They look at me like I'm a fucking anomaly because I don't take any medications besides my TRT. And I don't eat the fucking crappy foods, and I don't live that lifestyle, and I'm 43, and knock on wood, I'm not on medications. I don't have health complications. And I even had a couple injuries that I did my fucking self. But at 43, I feel just as good as I did at fucking 20. And they're like, well, it's just because he exercises. No, because I fucking eat the right things, and I don't put myself in positions to listen to other people to decide what I'm going to fucking do and brainwash me to make me feel like shit. So hopefully you guys understand that, like, the brainwashing can be undone. But you gotta do it, man. You gotta fucking get out there and you gotta put the work in like everybody else. Or you could just be one of those mindless drone zombie sheep motherfuckers that just does whatever and then just has natural coronary disease because that's what happens in my family. Motherfucker, there's everything in my family. I mean, everything. There isn't a single fucking health problem that my family doesn't have. And out of all my family, I'm the fucking healthiest one. Why do you think that is? It's because I have been living, even with all the fucking drugs and shit, my lifestyle is still healthier than what the fuck they're doing. Ain't that a bitch? Exactly. BowserTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BowserTraining.com is a blog. It's to get your shit done. Thank you, Jason, and we are out.